A lot of the time when we're thinking about seasons, we're thinking about outfits and how we decorate our house or our garden, maybe what we're eating. But what's actually happening in your body when the seasons change is bigger than all of that because your skin is detecting light through its own photoreceptors that are totally independent of your eyes. Because of that, your circadian rhythm is changing with the length of the days. It doesn't just change throughout the day, it changes from season to season. Your digestive capacity literally changes, your hormones shift, your microbiome shifts. You're not the same biological organism in the summer that you were in January. And because of that, of course, the way that you care for yourself should change from season to season. And ancient systems understood all of this so well, and they organized culture and health around the seasons. They noticed that the body behaves differently depending on the time of the year, and they built entire protocols around this, different foods, different herbs, different practices for each season, even like different ways of cooking food. We have ancient bodies living in a modern world, and a lot of us have lost that rhythm. And I think that loss shows up in so many different places. It shows up in our energy and our skin and just a feeling of being out of sync with yourself. And so today, I want to change that a little bit. You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Welcome back in. Summer's just around the corner. We haven't quite, of course, reached the solstice yet, but I'm still noticing the shift. I was just outside taking a walk this morning, and it felt so good. It was still cool, but so much brighter than it was even just a couple of weeks ago. Things are greener. It's just feeling so good. I love summer. I feel called to be outside more, to be moving more, socializing. I just got back from a trip, traveling more. And so summer is just like calling you to live a little bit differently than you did in the spring or the winter. And I would say summer, I feel so much prettier. My skin looks better. It feels healthier. But at the same time, there's more exposure to the elements. The sun is hotter. We're sweating, maybe more chlorine, air conditioning exposure. And so today I want to talk about summer through a holistic lens and what is changing during this season, what the mind, body, and therefore the skin is navigating, and how we can support all of these things so that we can stay healthy and resilient and radiant all summer long, but even coming to the end of summer, feeling really good as we go into fall. So today is the first in a little mini series about summer skin. I'm a holistic esthetician and herbalist, and I think that what makes my approach unique is that I do not approach the skin like a mechanic. And if you like my lens, be sure to sign up for my weekly newsletter. It goes out every Monday. It's called Moon Day Notes, and it's my weekly love letter from me to you that includes things like recipes and tips, herbalism and more of my thought process when it comes to skin health and wellness in general. A concept that I heard on a podcast that I love so much talks about humans are complex systems versus complicated systems. And I think about this all the time. Essentially, it's talking about how a complicated system has a lot of parts, but those parts all behave in predictable ways. So like a car or a toaster. And then a complex system also has many parts, but these parts are all constantly interacting and adapting and influencing each other in ways that aren't always predictable. So this is like a living organism or a forest ecosystem. It can also include things like relationships and communities are complex systems. And so a complicated system can usually be understood by breaking it into parts and then fixing one thing at a time. You know, if there's a problem with the radiator or whatever, they can fix that and it's fixed. And a complex system is different because everything affects everything else. And the error is in confusing these two things, treating a complex system as if it's a complicated system. And I think the original reference when I heard this, they were talking about like government policy and politics and, like how communities, as I said, are complex systems and we can't really go in and treat them like complicated systems, which is so often what happens with a lot of policy. And that has made me really just think about the skin and how often we are trying to treat the skin with a product as though it's a complicated system versus a complex system. So I think that adding this layer of understanding, especially with seasonal living, is so important here. We are seasonal beings. Your skin is a seasonal organ. And so, of course, summer has its own expression. Activity levels change, we have temperature changes, the daylight changes, the foods that are available to us are different. And all of these shifts are going to ripple through the body, affecting everything from your energy to your mood, your hydration levels, and then, of course, your skin health. So today I want to talk about some of the ways that we can support our vibrancy in the summer while still fully enjoying everything that this abundant, amazing, beautiful season has to offer. Because summer is so expansive. And what I mean by that, winter is kind of like the height of contraction. And summer is the height of expansion. So we've got our days are expanding, our schedules are expanding, our attention is moving outward. You're looking at sunsets and you're gardening, and it's not as inward as it is during the winter. We're going to concerts and hanging out at the lake and all the things, whereas winter is turning our attention so much more inward. And this expansion and contraction, these opposites are so beautiful. This outward attention of summer is so beautiful. It's the juice of life. It's all the good things. And we want this in summer because it creates awe and it exposes you to nature and improved mental health. And so I'm saying all of this because I don't want to accidentally get like weird wellness person on you and say, you should be obsessed with being in bed at 8 p.m. and never celebrate and protect your microbiome at all costs. That's not what we're here for. And I feel like sometimes in wellness spaces, we can become so focused on optimizing every variable that we forget the point. The point of life is not perfect skin. Your soul did not choose to come here to achieve perfect skin. And I have to share, I have a million notebooks all over my house. Many of them are empty. Many have random notes in them. Some of them are full. And I have this basket next to my bed. and I had a notebook in it, which I thought was empty. And I opened it up the other night to take some notes, and it had a single note in it. And it said, "You chose to come here because you chose to experience the thrill of transformation." And I was like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? That is so spot on. And so as I was writing this show and I was getting into all of the skin barrier health and how chlorine from the pool is not great for your skin microbiome, which is true. And I was like, is this really what I want to talk about today? Like, summer is so oppressive for your skin. And I am doing an episode next week about what products I reach for in the summer. And so I will talk a little bit about the microbiome and the barrier and how all of these things affect that. But I think today what I want to talk about is more just like the season. The point is to be fully able to participate in your life. Healthy skin does support that, and it's also not the destination. So summer is a time of joy and abundance. In Chinese medicine, summer is the time of the heart, and this does reflect joy. And we don't have to obsess about being good, but we can also observe cause and effect in TCM. With it being heart season, the yang energy can rise so much. And so with that joy, there's this concept of like too much joy, which is like mania, I kind of think of it like. And so if we are just leaning into this outward expansion and joy and fun, we can become depleted. We are more exposed. And the beauty of it is that nature isn't only asking us to spend our energy, it's also offering replenishment at the same time. Summer gives us peaches and berries and basil and melons and swimming holes and longer evenings and sunset. And it's just providing all of these beautiful ways to restore. So I want to talk about the replenishment and how we can lean into that. So summer is going to really pump up the evaporation. Water is evaporating through our skin. It's called transepidermal water loss, and it can contribute to dehydrated skin. We get this from heat and long days outside. Travel is a big contributor to dehydration, air conditioning. And I did an episode a few weeks ago talking about skin hydration and why it matters for making you more resilient to sun exposure. So go check that out. But ways that we can replenish are going to, of course, look like drinking water. Sipping room temperature or warm water throughout the day is actually more hydrating than drinking ice cold water, even in the summer. Eating your water is so important. This is why fresh, juicy fruits are around more during the summer. The earth is giving you what you need during the time that you need it. And things like fruit, milk, broth, these are all giving you hydration that you can actually absorb better than just plain water, because water needs electrolytes like potassium and magnesium and sodium to actually be able to cross into the cell membrane. And fruits and vegetables come preloaded with all of those minerals. And then also the natural sugars in fruit slow down the absorption. So instead of water just rushing through your system quickly, the way that a big glass of ice water does, it's going to absorb more gradually. So hydrating smarter is really important during the summer. There's a book that I love called Quench. And when I first heard of this book, I was like, I don't need a book about drinking water. And it really opened my eyes. I think I read this book back in like 2018 or something. And it really opened my eyes to how hydration is a little bit more complicated than just sucking down water all the time. And I've talked about this many times. I talked about it in that hydration episode from a couple of weeks ago. And it's just so interesting that we can be drinking all of the time. I hear this from my clients literally once a week. I'm drinking water all day long, I'm peeing constantly, but my skin's dehydrated. And this is why. And during the summer, it's even more important. So eating lots of juicy fruits and veggies, eating cucumbers, watermelon. I'm going to be doing an episode about foods and herbs for summer hydration. Doing herbal infusions is really important. Demulcent herbs are actually going to help your body hold on to water better. And so a demulcent herb looks like something like marshmallow or plantain leaf. And you can actually put these in water overnight, let it infuse, and then the next morning you strain it and you have this really beautiful, ultra hydrating drink. So I'll talk about that more when I talk about hydrating herbs and foods and just all the herbs and foods that we can lean on in the summer to help with more vibrancy. So we also can and should be replenishing through cooling and calming. This is a cornerstone in traditional systems when it comes to heat and hot weather, because like increases like and opposites balance. That makes so much, it's just like common sense, right? Cooling foods, herbs, and experiences all help to balance the heat. And this is going to help us to stay in relationship with the summer instead of getting totally burnt out. Water is so balancing during this fiery season. If I'm taking a walk and there's a little creek by our house, and there isn't always water in this creek because it's so freaking dry here where I live in Colorado, but when there is water in the creek, I always go and sit on the rocks next to it for a little while and let Teddy kind of splash around, because this is going to be so soothing. Just listening to the water babble is so soothing to your spirit during this hot season. You know, going to a body of water, whether it be a lake or a natural body of water, or to the pool. I am a pool girl forever. That is like my favorite thing. And like I said, chlorine isn't great for your skin. Obviously, it's an antimicrobial. It's kind of anti-life. It's depleting our microbiome, which I cannot wait until the microbiome on our skin starts to get the same attention as the microbiome in our gut, because they are both so incredibly important to full body health, to mental health. But that being said, I love the pool. And so there are things that we can do. And I'll talk about that next week in my upcoming episode in this little series when I talk about the products I reach for in the summer. But the point is, the pool, that water, going swimming, it all is just so cooling during this season. I also love to make sure that I have plenty of hydrosols on hand. These are plant waters that you can spray your skin with. I often will spray multiple times a day, especially on a hot day. I love herbs like rose and hibiscus for cooling. Rose in a hydrosol is like chef's kiss. Cooling foods like cucumber, watermelon, fennel is such a beautiful cooling food, especially for your digestive system. These are all going to help balance the heat and intensity of summer. And cooling doesn't always just mean temperature. Sometimes it can mean creating a sense of relief. Shade is cooling. A slower evening is cooling to your system. A yoga nidra practice is going to be very cooling. We also want to replenish not just through cooling and calming or through hydration, but through antioxidants. we're experiencing more sun exposure during the summer. And what a coincidence. Suddenly, berries are just popping up everywhere. Tomato is in season. We've got watermelon and cherries and peaches and all these colorful, beautiful produce items. Summer's just bursting with foods that are rich in compounds that help to support the body during a season of increased exposure. And cherries are such a fascinating example of this, especially tart cherries. And they're one of the only food sources of melatonin. And most people think of melatonin as just like a sleep hormone, but it's actually a potent antioxidant and it has an affinity for the skin, especially sun-damaged skin. It's also going to trigger the production of other antioxidant enzymes. So it's not just neutralizing the free radicals that are created during sun exposure. It's essentially activating your body's own antioxidant defense system. It has this really interesting cascade effect, and it's produced in the skin itself, not just in our pineal gland. The skin has its own local melatonin synthesis, which responds directly to ultraviolet exposure from the sun. So our skin is trying to protect and repair itself with melatonin, which means that anything that's supporting melatonin, like having good sleep, eating cherries, not totally destroying your circadian rhythm with really late nights and artificial light at night, is going to directly support that local skin defense system from the sun. And so this is why disrupted circadian rhythm in the summer is such a skin issue. It's impairing one of your skin's primary antioxidant and repair pathways. And so this is a great segue into my final source of replenishment that I want to talk to today, which is sleep. Summer's so funny because it's the season when we want to stay up later. You know, our evenings are so beautiful during the summer. There's concerts and backyard dinners and all sorts of reasons to squeeze in a little bit more life out of the day. And sometimes we should. I don't want to be, again, obsessed with optimization, that we miss the experiences that make summer magical. But sleep is one of the primary ways that our body replenishes itself. It's one of the ways that we restore after all of that outward energy, all of that activity. And so I like to always talk about skincare that doesn't come in a bottle, and sleep is definitely skincare that doesn't come in a bottle. And supporting and protecting your sleep hygiene is skincare, making sure that you have a dark room. If you need to get blackout curtains, getting that in your bedroom so that you're not getting the lights from the neighbors or the city lights or whatever it is shining into your room. Your skin is actually picking up on that light, even if you have a sleep mask on. This can also look like putting screens away several hours before bedtime. It can look like not eating several hours before bed. If you're eating, that's actually impairing your sleep and your circadian rhythm as well. In the morning, waking up and getting sunlight in your eyes first thing in the morning is actually going to help with the melatonin for nighttime. So, of course, all the things we can do for our sleep hygiene is going to be so important. So, with that being said, we love summer. We love the abundance of summer. And today is the first in a little mini series about summer skin. I'll be sharing about the products that I reach for during the summer and why I reach for them. I will be sharing about the herbs and foods that are so supportive during this time of year and why they're so supportive. And then I'm also going to be doing an episode about sun as medicine. I love the sun. I am never here to fearmonger about the sun because it is our life force. And it's also important to be intelligent when it comes to the sun as well. So we'll talk about that. And I'm just so excited. I love sharing these seasonal living episodes. If you like it as well, reach out to me. Let me know how it's going or what questions you might have. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast, share it with somebody who you know who may get value, and I will be back next time. So until then, be well. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels at Stratum Aesthetics.